Today I'm sharing another interview and introducing you to another plant creator here on YouTube. She is actually a friend of mine, and I tell you, we are always chatting, brainstorming, and talking all things plant and YouTube. She is incredibly good at growing healthy plants, and she grows most of her collection in LECA. She's actually one of the people who have inspired me to give LECA another try. Check out her channel, Daphne Tries Plants. I think you would walk away definitely feeling inspired. Daphne, hi. Nice to see
Hi.
you again. We chat so much every day, and this feels a little normal. But I wanted to introduce you to my plant community, share a little bit about your story. So, how did you get into this plant hobby?
First of all, I want to say thank you so much for having me. And how I got into the plant hobby, that's kind of a gradual thing because I've always had plants in my life. The first 7 years of my life I lived in my grandparents' house, and they had a yard with a vegetable garden. The front of the garden was also flowers and stuff. So we've always had some kind of plants. Then when we lived separate with just my mom and dad and my sister, my mom also had like a few plants. She was never super into them, but for some reason she had plants. And then I started living by myself when I moved here to the capital of our country. And when I moved out of, the dorm situation and stuff, I started having my own plants. Like, I started with some succulents, and at one time I had like a Chinese, you don't call it that. It's a hibiscus. We call it a Chinese rose.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
So yeah, I had that, and then when I got together with my partner that I have now, uh, I told him that I've never had an orchid and nobody's ever gifted me flowers or stuff like that. And he gave me my first orchid, and I still have that. And you know, but then I wasn't into plants, like into plants at that time. And the moment that got me into plants was now 3 years ago, probably almost, when I was helping my grandma with her plants, when I went to my hometown. And she gifted me an like Anthurium adrianum. I think it's like the flamingo flower, the very basic, regular
Mhm.
red flower, Anthurium. And I got it home and I started researching how to take care of it. And that got me super interested in plants. And then walking around with my son outside of a flower shop, I saw, a lot of the flowers. And I wondered if they have a peace lily because that's what my other grandma used to have in
Okay.
her home. And I went in there and I got that. And it just, it's like an avalanche after that.
Yeah. It's funny.
So
I feel like everyone, close to everyone, we all had some kind of house plant.
oh yeah, definitely. As I told you, I've always been around plants, and I did have my own plants before that, but it was never like this. It was totally different. And from this moment, and maybe also because of social media,
Hmm.
because before that, I didn't go on social media for plants and stuff. I just had them and I watered them, and that's it. I didn't even fertilize or anything. I didn't know anything. I didn't know what that they needed so much light,
Right.
anything. I just had some plants and
I mean, it's made
just
us more intentional.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's when I considered that I really got into plants.
mhm,
That's the moment, that first flamingo flower that I got.
mhm.
Because it unlocked this passion and
Yeah.
this interest, and just me going online and looking at other people's beautiful plants, and Yeah, I wanted this in my home.
Do you have a favorite plant? Or a favorite plant group? And if so, why?
Okay, so at the moment, I think my favorite plant is the Thai constellation
Mm-hmm.
that's behind me. It went through, a chop and prop a couple of months ago, but I don't think Monstera are my favorite genus. Probably I would have to give that to Alocasias and Hoyas at the moment. And I don't know why. Okay, did you ask why, or is it
Mm-hmm.
just
I
in my
did.
head?
I did ask why, yeah.
Well, with Hoyas, it's the flowers. For me, it's the flowers. It's just that because I know you don't get them very fast, like you need to work for them,
Mm-hmm.
and get that gives me some kind of drive. And probably I haven't thought about it, but with alocasias, they're beautiful. They are very unusual looking, like probably a bit alien looking, some of them, but also because they're pretty hard.
Oh, a difficult plant.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I like that because it gives me a sense of accomplishment when I manage to,
Mm-hmm.
make it happy. And yeah, I think that's the reason why these two are my favorite because it's not um, like instant gratification.
Do you have a favorite growing style? Tell me how you grow your plants.
Okay, so how I grow my plants. First, my considerations for my plant growing methods and style is it has to be the least amount of effort and the lowest margin of error
Okay.
because I have this I have this I think I have ADHD. I think I've told you that, and that sometimes means that I forget about something. That I forget I have to if it's not in front of my eyes, it
That's
doesn't
so
exist.
funny. And yet you grow in LECA,
That's the
and
the
that I find
least.
LECA the most difficult thing to grow in.
I don't know. For me, it seems easy because I can see when there's not enough water in there. It's visible.
Okay.
Well, not in all the pots. Some of them are, just cover pots and you can't see it. But I have like a system and I know how long it takes for the reservoir to go dry
Mm-hmm.
because I measure how much water I put in there and when it's empty, I see how many days have passed. So I know, how long it takes for it to dry out. And I try to do it in a way that I water in one day all the leca plants.
Got it.
So that, it gives me the least possibility to, let them go dry.
Got it. So how do you approach playing care? Do you have like everything on a set schedule?
I try to do the watering on Sundays because that's also the day that I've chosen to rotate the plants that I want to rotate because I do that. And I try to do most of this more time consuming things on Sunday. And throughout the week, if I see that something needs additional water or something else, or because I do have plants that are not in LECA yet, and with those, I'm more afraid that I'm gonna lose them because I've gotten so used to LECA now that I just don't have the ability to really feel like notice when a plant needs to be watered.
Okay.
So it's not so visual. And because most of the plants that are not in LECA are in a type of a chunky soil mix, and you can't really put your finger down in there because there's bark blocking your way, you know. So
Yeah.
I have to lift the pot and look at the like the drainage holes in the bottom to see if it's still moist or something. And yeah, I try to do that throughout the week with the plants that are not in LECA. So because I'm more afraid of losing those.
Yeah, it's a interesting soil, and LECA is so different. Um, where are you? So, from all the plants that you have, how much plants do you say that you've collected over the past 3 years?
Oh gosh. Well, last time I counted was last spring slash summer, and they were 60 species, a lot more like individual pots because I do propagate and grow some plants to be able to sell on in Facebook groups and marketplace. So I did have like 60 species and around 100 separate plants. Now I probably have 70 plus species now because it's summer was a time when I got quite a few plants. A big number of them are either in rehab or propagation because I got them as cuttings.
Hmm.
And I've also gotten rid of quite a lot of the ones I propagated, so I don't know how many exactly are now. I haven't counted. Probably in spring slash summer again when I do the collection tour thing that I will to count them at the moment.
Yeah. So from your first when you first started to now, the number of plants definitely changed.
Oh,
And what have you learned during this time that you've had, the 3 years of growing?
well, I've learned that I will have fungus gnats first of all.
I guess if you have soil, you will.
Well, I still have things in soil. Like I have the propagations that I grow in like separate pots that I don't put in LECA because people here don't are not familiar with that type of with semi hydro unless they're super um, like specialized in growing certain plants like alocasias, for example. Um, so I do have fungus. Also, my succulents,
Hmm.
most of them are in soil, and even though I let them dry out in like fall winter, they still get fungus gnats.
Hmm. It's inevitable.
So yeah, that's one thing I learned. One more thing I've learned is that you don't have to give up on a plant if it's not doing well. You can try, but it's not necessary. It depends on like the volume of and the pressure and the stress of how many plants you have.
So
But
you're not the one to throw a plant in the river like Doug Chamberlain.
no, 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 no. I will try until the very last green part is gone.
Okay.
I just today I threw away the pink syngonium because it was completely rotted and molded. I
Okay.
had a very tiny, not even unfurled leaf, and it was sitting in a little puddle of water just to see if it'll unfurl and grow some roots, and it didn't. And I said, okay, it's time.
Wow. So you take a while to give up on a plant.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely not how I am these days. I'm ready to chuck some plants away.
Well, it really depends on, like I said, the volume of work that it and stress that it brings on you. And
Hmm.
you don't have to deal with that. I mean, it's totally up to a separate person. I'm never a one, someone to judge.
Right.
If someone decides to throw cuttings or just a full plant that is bringing them too much stress and they can't deal with that, that's totally valid to do. I no judgment whatsoever. It's just that's my way of doing things and just how I personally feel.
Some challenges you're facing right now in your growing state. I mean, for one thing, we're in winter still, and even though there's a little bit more sunshine coming out, there's still some struggle. So, like, what are some of your challenges?
This is the first year that I got any sort of grow lights, and that's just for the Tycon because it's in this very dark corner. But light hasn't been a problem for me, mostly because most of the plants are just stuck on the windowsills.
Right.
And whatever, if there's no sun whatsoever, there is no sun. There's nothing I can do. But plants still do pretty well. They haven't stopped growing. Even my Hoyas and the Alocasia poly, I put it here. It doesn't live here normally, but I just put it here because I like to show it off. But it's unfurling a new leaf at the moment. And it doesn't have a grow light on it. It's in my son's room. It's not in the windowsill because it's big. It can't fit in there. But it's doing okay. And the Michelitiana is also putting out new leaves, and it's very close to the poly. I have no problem with that. The challenges I'm facing at the moment are my own doing, my procrastination. That's the challenge is the challenge I'm facing is myself. So I'm procrastinating repotting some things that need repotting, rehabbing some things that need rehabbing, um, potting up some propagations that I have that are still, waiting on me to do that. And some spider mites popping up here and there. So pests. Right now, so in the winter season, pests and just my kind of low motivation and energy to do the more than basic plant chores, more than just watering and fertilizing. But in the summer, it's totally different. It's a very dynamic thing and very dynamic period, and I'm struggling to keep up with watering.
Oh, in summer.
So yeah,
Mhm.
struggling really because it gets pretty hot here,
Okay.
especially because the plants are in the windowsills.
Mhm.
Windows have some kind of glass that lets in heat but doesn't let it out. We chose
Let
that.
out.
We chose
No.
to have these windows years ago, like before I was with my partner. I decided that it's better to keep heat in because I'm gonna have a lower heating bill in the winter, and I didn't care about how hot it was because I don't have a problem with heat. So I didn't even think about the fact that I some time in the future might decide to have plants and they will be like crisping up in the windowsills. So yeah, that's my biggest challenge in the summer.
I am I mean, I think like spring is my favorite season, and that was not always the case when I first moved here from Florida. Um, but the more light you get in spring, you get the most light all year in spring, and it just gives you all that energy to do stuff. And I think that's one of the things I noticed in this winter is that the lower light drained your energy, and you definitely are not motivated to do stuff. Yeah, now that we're getting more light, I feel like it's just getting a little bit more perky. Like yesterday at 8 o'clock at night, I was rehabbing a plant in the kitchen, and it was over. It was finished in 10 minutes, and I'm like, why did I wait so long? So
That's my thing. I do something and then I think, okay, I've been putting this off for at least 2 months. Why? Why? It just takes 10 minutes.
I know it's just so weird, but I think like we're looking at it from a perspective of all the things we have to do instead of like one single thing. And that's how I do things sometimes. I look at all that I have to take care of. Like right now, there's 3 Hoyas here that I know that is in my, I'm dealing with some Hoya, some root rot at the moment. So I know 3 of these I need to check. And I'm like, when am I going to find time to check all 3? Why do I need to check all 3 at the same time? I can just check one today.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot of shifting of like just how we're thinking about stuff, and that's kind of what I'm realizing too with like the challenges you bring on yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I think what you're saying is very true for me. I just get overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that I have to do, so I don't do anything. And that's so counterproductive. You can just check one thing off the list at least, you know. It's gonna make the
Yeah,
list
just check one
smaller.
thing. I know. Yeah. And then when and then so I mean when you do one thing, you might actually do the other thing
Yeah,
too.
you get the like this spark of yay, I did it.
I know.
What
And it's
else
like
can
for
I
one
do?
thing, we're moving. This is something about that light that really just changes our mood. I mean, there's so many things. And could you just imagine what the plants actually feel like because they're getting more light?
Ah, if it's working for us and we don't need to photosynthesize, I'm imagining they're super happy.
Thinking about plant care long term, what do you think about when you think about that? Like really considering that my Anthurium workrianum is going to get really big. Do you have a plan for that? You know, like some of those.
Hopefully, it's gonna get
So I know, like right, hopefully, but you know, like some of those things, like if all your plants got big at the same time, we would have to like move them out. You know what I I mean? So, what does long term care look like for you?
Okay, so that's really connected to my plans for life as a whole. And the dream is that in 5 years' time, we're not going to live in this small, like you call it condo,
Hmm.
like we call it appartement, which is something like the British flat. So I'm hoping that we don't live here still in 5 years' time and we have a house with big windows and lots of light, but I'll have more room to give them the space and the conditions that they deserve.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, possibly at some point, maybe not 5 years, maybe later down the line, but possibly like a little greenhouse or like a plant room that's more with more windows, you know.
Hmm.
And my goal, like my dream, is to have that and to have very old and happy plants.
Yeah.
So,
I love the idea of like heirloom plants.
yes,
That's one of the things. I mean, I don't have anyone to pass it down, but could you imagine like passing down the plant you've had for so long to somebody else for them to start the plant hobby as well? I just love that. It's just definitely, you know, part of the joys of plant collecting.
absolutely. I think just the idea of being a retired person and saying, I've had this plant for 20 years
Yeah.
or like 30 years, and it sounds so romantic to me. And I really am waiting and anticipating this time when I will have this connection with some of my plants. And I'm really thinking that at some point I'm gonna stop getting more plants
Hmm.
because I'll just be satisfied with the ones that I have growing happy and big and old.
At some point, we'll probably stop collecting and be more of a curator. It's another thing that I've been looking into is like the collecting part is a hobby in itself.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and then when you become a curator, it's more like bonsai. Trudy, it's more like a bonsai life when you become a curator
I love that. I love the patience and the dedication and just the care that you give.
to one plant.
Yeah. Well, you can have a lot of them if you have the conditions and
I
the
know,
space.
but like for bonsai, it's like you have a lot of bonsai, but there's a particular care and patience that you give that one plant.
Yeah, you're always thinking about this plant's development and the future and how you want it to look.
Hmm.
And you're waiting for
Hmm.
the time that it will become what you envision in your mind.
Yes. And you know what? I also
And it takes years.
but you know what else I was thinking about too? That's so controlling.
Maybe.
I I was thinking about I was like, what is it about this that's appealing to me? And it has to do with the fact that things are out of my control right now. So because plans give me a sense of control. It's kind of I don't know, is it good or bad? is it good or is it good or bad? But yeah, it's a bit controlling when you have it when you think about it that way, but at least it's a part of the life that you can control.
Yes, and I think that's one of the things that I love about this hobby is that I take certain steps and actions and I see the results pretty, not quickly, but you can absolutely see results. You're not just guessing whether what you did was right or wrong. You see the results immediately, and this gives you this sense of accomplishment and exactly what you said, control over something. So I often feel like I'm not in control of my life and what's happening around me, and I sometimes feel like I'm failing at some things. But plant care is something that is really good at just giving me that satisfaction and sense of accomplishment, and I'm doing something right.
Mhm.
So,
Until it's not. Until it's not right.
well, yeah, but even then, I'm in control of what's happening. I can rehab the plant. Of course,
Mhm.
you can't be absolutely in control of everything, but you have more control than you have in your life. There's so much that's out of your control in your everyday life.
Yep. Yeah.
I guess you're right. That is controlling. I haven't even thought about that.
I probably gonna go in one of my. Oh, hi, honey. Are you letting me know that it's 4:15?
Hi,
Thank you.
Lobo.
Hi, buddy. Good boy. Yes. Hi, my honey. Okay, I know, honey. After his walk, he got really tired. Yeah, it is a bit controlling, but I mean, it's a good thing because like anything that we do, I mean, in baking and baking bread, and I mean, it's all part of like controlling because you're doing this to get a result. So for the final question of this interview, tell me how plant care has shaped your life, um, or made any changes to it.
100% say is my most consistent passion and hobby and interest. I'm someone who gets very fired up about something for like super intensely into something. And then probably like in a year or something, it fizzles out. And I think plant care has changed my life in a way that it's given me some sort of something constant, something to come back to always. And the other thing is, yeah, because I do have problems with consistency with everything, everything in my life. I can't stick to routines. I'm a stay-at-home mom at the moment, and this gives me something outside of being a mom and a housewife, which can really take over your personality and your life, you know. So I'm super grateful to Plant Care for this as well, to giving me some sort of something that's my own,
Mhm.
that it's my own little piece of world. And the other thing that I'm so grateful to Plant Care as a whole is meeting Well, meeting you.
I know we met on Instagram, and it's been so fun really trying to get to know someone. And it's weird because when you're on social media, nothing ever becomes like, I feel because of social media, friendships are different, and I'm
It's
so
never
thankful.
deep.
Yeah, there's
It's
no deep
very
connection,
surface
and
level.
I'm so thankful for you because we the chats that we have is like you kind of spend my everyday with me, or the moments of the day that not everybody gets, and I like it. It's just I'm very thankful for it.
Yeah, actually, you're the only other person other than my partner who knows so much about what's happening in my life, in my everyday life. Because I do have a friend and family, like, but they're in my hometown. We don't communicate on a day-to-day basis, even though I've been telling them about Marco Polo, and
Right.
such a great thing to have and to stay in touch, but they're just not into that. And I'm so thankful that I have someone to share my, like, not only plant stuff. We started being friends with the plants
Hmm.
because of
And
plants.
then we moved over to sourdough for a little bit.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was a period for me, like a few months.
Yeah, but no, it is really good because you know what? One of the things, plans is not our life, is part of our life. And then just like having a friend to share that part with, and then all the other things in between, it's just one of the things of, as an introvert, I love that builds deeper connection for me. And I like having like one friend where there's a day-to-day going on, and you're that friend.
You're that friend for me too.
We got a little sappy already.
Oh.
But yeah, thanks for hanging out. I really hope these interviews encourage you to grow, experiment, and try something new with your own plants. If you're not familiar with her channel yet, I've linked everything down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out in another interview. Enjoy the rest of your day, and always remember you are loved.